Welcome to Ultiworld's press conference following the women's semifinal at the 2019 USA Ultimate Club National Championships here in San Diego. We're with some representatives from Boston Brute Squad, Claire Trope, Juliana Werfley, and head coach Ari Jackson.
Hey, Graham Gerhardt from Multiworld. Obviously, this is a big win for the team. This is something that has been a long time coming. Do you maybe want to quickly describe your team's emotions after this game, triumphing over Fury for the first time in 3 years at this tournament?
I can take it first. Sort of a synopsis. I think you saw it like in the last point. There was a ton of joy. We've had our blows back and forth with Fury throughout the regular season. But yeah, it's been a while since we took care of them at this tournament, and so I think it was a mixture of elation and relief.
You brought up the regular season, and I know that this has not been the same regular season that Scandal might necessarily be accustomed to. There were a couple Brute Squad, my apologies. There were a couple close games that perhaps otherwise normally would swing your way. What was the team's mentality and ethos coming out of the regular season and into this tournament?
Why don't you take that?
Yeah, I think we knew we had it in us. We were very confident, but we knew we had to work really hard. And so I think kind of gave us a chip on our shoulder, and it allowed us to push each other even more in practice and during the week and kind of all the time. So we knew we had it in us to be the best team in the country. We knew we are the best team in the country, but we knew we had to work really hard, and we have more work to do.
Part of that working really hard. In pool play, you guys had a tough draw being in Pool D, playing against the Sixers, who were your in-region rivals and a team that you guys had just lost to in the regional finals. What was that game like, and trying to pull that out, getting towards the bracket play?
I think we definitely had a bit of a chip on our shoulders. Felt like we wanted some revenge, wanted to show that we'd put in the work to fix a lot of the things that weren't working earlier in the season. I think we just came out firing, and they pushed back, and they're a great team. But we really, really wanted it, and I think that's kind of defines our season. Is we just really want it, and we're ready to work for it. And I think that's how we approached Pool D.
Getting back to the game itself that you guys just played, a little bit to start. I think both teams were finding their feet, a little bit shaky, but really pivotal moment late in the first half where you guys broke back into it. I think Cassie Wong had a layout run through D that really made a difference, and defense has kind of been the calling card for Brute Squad for a very long time. Was there anything you guys specifically did defensively this game to try and throw Fury off theirs?
I don't think we did anything exotic, but we kind of made sure that we were returning to the fundamentals that we preach and practice all the time, especially just knowing that we're deep, that we're going to have legs to come in from the sideline after you're out there on the field, and so we don't need to save our energy for anything. We can make that extra effort to close that gap between you and your matchup, close that 1 yard gap and make it 6 inches, be really tight, and apply the pressure so that the throwers know that they have to be perfect, so that if the disc is a little bit off, we're going to be right there ready to exploit it, and that just increases the pressure on the throwers and will lead to more mistakes.
One of the big differences in this game was the wind and the turf, making the environment a little bit more difficult to play in. Did that have any effect on how you were matching up or the defensive sets you were running, or even just how you were trying to play Fury?
I think that the wind was pretty calm when we were warming up, and it definitely picked up in the game. And it wasn't like an unplayable wind or anything, but there was definitely an upwind end zone and a downwind end zone, and it's definitely something that we factored into the defensive play calls that we were making. And I think also at the same time, us and Fury are two incredibly powerful defenses, and so you add even just a little bit of wind into that mix, and it's going to be a defensive slugfest, and I think that's what it was.
Late in the game, you're coming to those last few points, and you start to see Fury making this comeback. Was there any sense of deja vu? Was there any sense of panic? Like, they're coming for us again, and we're going to end up in the same spot that we've been the past couple of times?
I'll take that, but I'll let you guys answer first.
Okay, I mean, I think every game you just take 1 point at a time, and this game was no different. Yes, we made mistakes, but we fought right back. So no real deja vu, just kind of 1 point at a time.
I'm always panicked. Doesn't matter. So, you deal with it.
Like the Hulk. It's no secret. Also, so Ari, this question's for you. When you get to that final point of the game, and I know during the course of that point there were some subs, but you start out and I think from memory, Lien and Cammie are on the field, but you also have Juliana, you have Claire, Angela, a lot of players who have been on the team for a couple of years, but aren't the most experienced players on the team, haven't been with the team for 6 years or been playing for 10 years. Is this kind of did it feel a little bit like the new face of Root Squad, like the new generation of passing of the torch?
That certainly wasn't like the intention, and I haven't reflected on it in that way. I think what we were trying to do there is just really protect that upwind end zone with what we thought would be, there's a lot of defenders to choose from, and so you could put together 10 different combinations of top defenders to put out there, but that was sort of the intention is let's get like one of those 10 mixes of our top defenders out there so we can really protect that upwind end zone.
We spoke a little bit about the final point, but there was 2 points before then, which was really a marathon. I think that was the one that sticks out the most in my mind, where the two teams were going back and forth. There were some incredible hucks, incredible defensive plays, and it really felt like a turning point in the game where everybody was switching on and both teams really wanted it. Do you mind walking us through what was going on in your heads during that game, especially considering how it was a marathon point but in the best way possible?
Yeah, I'll pass it over to Jay since she was actually on the field at that point, but it seemed like Fury had all the momentum after that one, right?
No such thing as momentum. Yeah, I mean, that point was a grind. It was like if not the longest point of the game, and it definitely is a pivotal point. And I think like being on when you like turn it, you like work as hard as you can on defense, and then you gotta calm down and try and work it into the end zone on offense. So I think it definitely was a grind, and it definitely would have been nice to win that point, but got to take the next one and the next one after that. Yeah.
It's emotionally draining coming off of a point like that, and then the point directly after you also saw Fury get the break. All the momentum, which you said does not exist, but at least the energy seems to be really on their side. They were in really good spirits. They have that incredible cheer where they talk about their defense, and there was a lot of raw emotion sort of carrying them. How do you pick yourselves up in the face of that sort of adversity, which might not necessarily come across an on-field play, but definitely is present? It's definitely there.
You want for the last point?
Oh, sure. So is Jay. I think it's just like 1 point, and you just have to play that point as hard as you can and leave it all out on the field and know that like this is no different than any other point. And we practice for these moments and these intense moments, and I think our motto is just go home happy, and like that's the goal. Like play with joy, play hard, and like put it all on the line out there. And I think like that's all you can do is just be like nothing else matters. It's just this 1 point.
Claire, you played in last year's club national semifinals with Riot,
Yes.
and I believe against Fury.
Yes.
And now you played one with Root Squad. What was different about the experience with the two teams?
I get asked this a lot, and I'm never ready to answer it. I mean, I think both teams are so unique and so special. And I would say first and foremost, like in both games, I've just like felt so supported by both groups of people, and like had a lot of fun. I mean, obviously the outcome of this one was a little different than last year's, although I don't feel like that's really I think in these tight games it can go either way to any of these big powerhouse teams. I don't know. It's just fun. I love both teams, and it's been a blast, and it's been a great season, and last year was a great season, and it's nice to get one on Fury. They're so good. And yeah, I don't know. It's so different that it's like hard to put in words because they're just like such different groups of people, but you're just out there playing Frisbee, you know?
Arya, this question's for you. In the final moments of the game, it's easy to tighten and to have certain players maybe try and do too much to focus in a little bit too much on Hero Bowl. At the same time, though, there were certain players that really were taking over that second half. Cammie Groom had some brilliant plays. Claire had a couple of tremendous plays. Do you find when you're talking with your team, do you emphasize individual players that are hot to keep going with those matchups, or do you try and keep it as balanced as possible?
I don't think that we try to single out individual players in by saying things like, okay, we want to run it through this person or run it through these two people, but we'll set up plays like pull plays or or certain other stop disc plays where we'll try to put people in spots where they're most likely to succeed for them and for the team. And then I think especially with the combination of the extreme defensive pressure that both teams were giving and the wind layered on top of that, there were certain strategic things that we were trying to do where we're asking our players to make plays in those conditions. And we didn't make all of them, but we made enough.
Well, Boston Recruit Squad, I know one of your mottos was to go home happy, but you still got one more day of this. So we look forward to watching you guys tomorrow, and good luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.